Hi, my name is Kyle Wilson, and I'm a Fuse Fellow with the Highlander Institute and a 4th grade teacher at Steer Farm Elementary School in Burrillville, Rhode Island. My 2 years as a Blended Learning Fellow has culminated in a year-long independent project transforming my classroom, along with my mindset. Having a blended learning classroom to call my own was the goal, but helping me get there was an LMS called Agilix Buzz. I was able to pilot this platform as a member of the EdTech-RI and Highlander Institute software testbed. Most importantly, I had an absolutely wonderful group of 4th graders as partners in this project. We learned alongside each other. We learned what worked, and more importantly, we learned what didn't. And I know in the end, we both learned what we were truly capable of, and it didn't get any better than that. At the beginning of the pilot, and with so many moving parts, I developed key guiding questions that would help focus my work. These included: how would I take the best practices of a station rotation model and fit them into my existing classroom structure? What would greater student choice and digital creation look like in my classroom? How can I better organize and utilize the formative data I collect? And how would I best strike a balance between good old-fashioned teaching and technology integration? Additionally, Agilix Buzz was a platform with the potential to be the hub of my content, assessment, and student data. In order to use this tool to the fullest, though, I had to take a step back and really plan the steps that would make this implementation successful. I wanted to do it right, and this meant placing the bulk of my focus on the systems, routines, and management of the classroom. Reason being, my current systems worked, but I felt they wouldn't be enough to sustain this type of disruptive change. That meant integrating the technology would have to come later. My 3-station setup was modeled, practiced, and modeled again throughout the pilot. This was uncharted territory for the kids. Whether they were in group, tech, or our collaboration station, each expectation for behavior and performance had to be explicitly modeled. Rotation schedules in both classes were predictable. At 9 and 10 years old, these students thrive on routine, so there was no better choice than to take advantage of that. As with most teachers, I had to resist the urge to micromanage something so new to both of us. And instead, my priority was to keep the system simple for both the kids and, honestly, myself. My student groups were constantly changing based on my daily formative data, the schedule of the day, or whatever thing might be going on in class at that time. The ideal tool for me was Google Draw. At the bottom of each group is a separate table. These were kids that I either had to check in with first or needed to pay particular attention to during our group time. But this simple reminder paid dividends in quickly targeting those students' needs. Student voice and choice, one of the hallmarks of blended learning, was part of our station design. They worked in groups to come up with the ideal rotation. What worked for them? Given this autonomy, their ideas were genuine, and it meant they had teeth in the game. And after all, this was their math class. Moving on, we worked to design a flow to the rotation that was efficient, as to allow for the maximum amount of time in either collaboration station, tech, or small group. The students' work in Buzz was creating data like I had never seen. It came from quick formative assessments, which helped to inform my daily instruction. It also tracked student mastery with badges. Fact fluency, as you may know, is a pillar of 4th grade Common Core math, as with all elementary math. At the start of their daily session in Buzz, they would work through leveled fluency practice that became more challenging each time they leveled up. Ultimately, my use of Buzz's data is still a work in progress. I have room to grow. This is due in part to my reliance on the tried and true paper exit tickets, because they're always so perfect in a pinch when my access to devices is so limited. To put it simply, these students just loved to create. Not only was it a tool to further differentiate the content, but it became a way for students to demonstrate mastery. But when these kids were given a choice and the control to create what they wanted, using which platform they wanted, it opened doors for those who may have been reluctant to present in the past. The best evidence is to visit the playlist, which shows a selection of their creations. My project evolved to a point where the sole focus was no longer technology. Instead, it became an exercise in risk-taking, mindset, and frankly being comfortable in your own skin. During this year-long process, I really had to work hard at striking a balance between the technical know-how and just good old-fashioned teaching, which was the reason I got into this profession in the first place. It's really not easy to do in an exploding and saturated industry. The latest platforms and adaptive programs and student databases keep growing. And I can't tell you how easy it is to get wrapped up in the latest trend. You get the feeling that your colleagues are keeping up with the Joneses, and that means that you have to as well. And I guess to put it in a way that all students can relate, it's easy to fall victim to EdTech FOMO. But all kidding aside, this simply is not reality. The evolution of my project is an example of focusing on one element of change, working hard at it, and learning from the mistakes. Now that I've spent the whole year becoming grounded in solid pedagogy centered around the best practices of blended learning, will it be easier moving forward to define the tools that best fit into my evolving blended learning classroom?